Welcome back to Serenity with Lana. I am Lana, and it's very late. I'm very tired, but I decided that it's important for me to make this video. Living with a chronic illness is not just about the pain and all the time. It's not just about the pain. It is about the exhaustion, the isolation, the constant fight to prove that your suffering is real and that what's going on inside your body is actually happening. It is about existing in a world that was not built for you. I've said many of times, but then you're watching people debate whether or not you deserve to escape your suffering. I've seen this over multiple years. It was a thing when I was in college in 2009, 2010, and now it's still people arguing about whether MAID should be legal, whether it is an ethical choice. I am really here to ask people who are debating this. I would really like to ask them to walk a week in my shoes and then get back to me on how they feel about the whole situation. The weight of a lifetime of pain that I didn't even know I had when I was younger, pain that I had all my life, that was my baseline. When things grew to be a little bit stronger, that's when I couldn't cope. My own body has been fighting battle from before my own family doctor was born. My suffering did not start when I got my diagnosis. It started long before, and it had a lot of trauma leading up to that, leading up to people not giving me the prenatal care that I needed, the OB not really doing her job. I just had to survive. I had to come to the quiet realization that I would always have to fight for myself. It was going to be a constant battle, and I was going to always be facing somebody somewhere that really didn't believe what I was going through. Even when I became sick, life didn't stop. I still had to work two jobs while my husband was on paternity leave with our newborn. Because if I didn't keep everything together, like most people in their lives, who else would? Like, there's no one else that you're going to be able to fall back on. And it sucks. People do not take care of each other the way that we should in a community, in life, in whatever. No one else was going to come in and step in. No one else was going to pick up the weight that I carried. And it showed every time I asked for help. That's not what I got. I got people basically saying that their needs came first. And women in general are told to take care of themselves. But when are we supposed to find the time to breathe, to heal, fall apart, and then put ourselves back together again? When are we allowed to go to the doctor or find out bad news and be able to grieve and then move on with our lives? Society really does tell us that we need to rest while expecting us to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. And that is just not fair to anyone that's having to go through it. And I can't imagine what it's like for a lot of people that are alone and suffering with a chronic illness. I need to get off this damn floor soon. I'm gonna jump around here and it may not make sense, but there's this loneliness of being forgotten when it comes to having a chronic illness and the journey that we go through. People love to talk about support, get help, and do all of these things. What happens when the people you thought would be there or that you thought cared really couldn't care less if you were dead or alive? They say that they do, but their actions don't really match their words. I've dealt with a lot of that, and it's painful and it hurts. I've felt it all, and I have seen it in the silence of people I once called friends. I have felt it in the weight of judgment from those who thought, in the weight of judgment from those who thought they had the right to tell me how to handle my chronic illness and my emotions and what I was going through and how to deal with life in general and how to handle my suffering. Having to make other people feel better about my condition or what I was going through, or even not being talked to in a way that I used to. Nobody would come to me and talk to me about the good things that were going on in their lives. And I was just blocked out completely. And I felt forgotten while I was alive. It was just about as exhausting as my illness itself. I was expected to explain my choices to the people that I decided to talk to or to have in my life. I was expected to go out of my way to keep them in my life. I felt like I had a responsibility to make other people comfortable with my own suffering and to pretend that my pain wasn't as bad as it really was, or that I was getting what I needed. When I finally broke it down and admitted that MAID was really the option, when I really feel like it's time and that there's no other choice, the judgment that I had from people was unbearable. Where were these people when I needed them? Where were they when I was screaming in pain and needed help getting out of bed in the morning, or a million other things that Ilya had to help me deal with on a daily basis? Where were they when I was begging doctors to do another scan, or to do something different, or to look at a different part of my body? I was begging them to believe me. Where were they when I was trying to balance becoming a new mother, balancing work, balancing my own organization, balancing survival, my illness, all of these things? So much more than anyone should have to bear on their own shoulders all at once. And where were they? People only care when it's too late, when the flowers are put on the casket at the funeral, when the casket is put into the ground, when they realize that they miss that person, but they're only missing that person because they want likes on Facebook because of what they're saying. And that's the hardest truth of all when it comes to this. It also comes down to the fact that the healthcare system is failing me and us. The worst part about my chronic illness is that the level that I am at right now, or the prognosis that I'm at right now, could have been avoided. Every single person I have met who has chosen MAID or will choose MAID has had one thing in common. And mind you, I've only met two handfuls of people that this has affected. They were failed by the medical system by grand extreme cases. They were ignored. They were denied the treatment that they deserved. They were told that their pain wasn't real and that it was in their head. They were made to believe that the only option was to suffer. Oh, go do yoga. Well, if my legs wouldn't swell to twice the size that they should be every day, right? We weren't addressing the underlying cause or issue, and therefore there wasn't things that we could do to actually take these suggestions. We were made to believe that the only option was to suffer in silence or take matters into our own hands. And still people debate whether we deserve the right to choose MAID instead of asking the real question. I'd love to hear in the comments what you think about this. I think the real question is, why did we end up here in the first place? And why is this an option in the first place? What could have made a difference? Or what could have been done better? Not on our side, but on the medical team side, our friends side, our family side. People need to realize that they have accountability too, and it's not just us in this. And it's pretty simple to me, and I'm just gonna lay it out. If doctors and nurses had listened, it's as fucking simple as that. If doctors and nurses had listened. if patients weren't forced to fight for every ounce of care that they received, if they did not have to beg, plead, email after phone call after whatever, and spend their time doing that, might be okay. If treatment was given before it wasn't too late, if pain relief was a priority instead of a privilege, to be made to feel comfortable instead of telling people that they have psychological problems. If you, watching this, saw us as human beings instead of burdens on the healthcare system, or people that are just out there med seeking, or addicts that are trying to just get a high. So many people that I have spoken to, that I have listened to, myself included, would have chosen life had life been livable. And for me, it hasn't been. And I'm terrified of what it would look like 3 months from now. It's time for change, like I said. People want to fight about MAID, but the real problem is not fucking whether or not MAID should be a thing. The real fight should be about why so many of us feel like we have no other option. And that comes down to you to answer. And I would really love to hear from you. I would like you to leave a comment, leave your thought in the comment box. Like this video if this is the kind of content that you like. And know that we are not weak. We are not giving up. To end this very long-winded rant, it came out of nowhere. I'm sorry about that. It was just something that I had to get off my chest and explain why I haven't been posting the way that I thought that I would be. Just know that we are not giving up. We have been fighting longer than you can imagine. We do not want to die. We are not suicidal. Once again, we just want the suffering to end. We don't see a means to do that without going to the streets for drugs, which most of us won't do, committing suicide, which most of us won't do, or just doing this in a humane way. So I ask you once again, if you are watching this, what will you do differently? How will you really support people that are going through this process of MAID or thinking of it differently? Will you listen to us? Will you fight with us? Will you be part of the change, or will you be part of the resistance? Will you continue to look at us as burdens and pretend this isn't happening in the world when clearly it really is? We need you to fight with us, because until something really changes and things really change, people like me are going to keep choosing MAID as the only option. And that is the real tragedy in my eyes. I think that there's so much more that we could be doing. I wish that my choice hasn't come down to this, but that's where I'm at. And that's the end of this video. I am hopefully going to have more videos. I have a lot of back content to put up, and some of it will make sense, but a lot of it's going to be mixed match. It's not going to be in the sequence that you would think that it would be in, but that's okay. It's just part of what this is and what this channel is going to be. But there's going to be a lot of informative information. I hope that I'll be able to get it up and feel a little bit better so that I have time to work on things the way that I would like it. Stop being a perfectionist and thinking that the world's going to judge me more than the world already has. So anyway, much light love and good vibes to you all. I hope you're doing well. Peace.